This is the video on your graphic organizer if you had trouble filling in this column. We are only going to be working on the slope-intercept form column today. We'll be worrying about the point slope form and standard form a little bit later. So the first thing we want to talk about is what is slope-intercept form. Well, remember slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Remember, slope is kind of like the speed of our graph. It's kind of like how tilted is it. And b is kind of where our graph starts. Okay? So let's look at from a graph. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see really well what I'm doing here. So when we're talking about from a graph, normally we have a graph with a lot of little boxes. We don't have that this time. But that doesn't really change our problem. We still need slope and y-intercept to write our equation, right? We still want an equation that's y equals blank x plus blank, or minus blank, whatever works, okay? So when we want to find slope from a graph, we talked about this yesterday, we can draw a little slope triangle. So I'm going to draw a teeny little slope triangle. It's a little bit hard to see, okay? But we can still talk about what those sides are. So it looks like this went from 50 to 60, and that's a rise of 10. So we know that our rise was 10, okay? Our run, it looks like it goes from 0 to 1, so that's a run of 1. So our slope should be 10 over 1, or 10. Now, to find our y-intercept, remember our y-intercept is where it starts, or what it is at 0. So this graph is a little bit different in that 0 starts right here, so we can see if we go up to where 0 hits the graph, that starts at about 50. So that means our y-intercept is going to be plus 50. Done. Graphs are really nice. All right, let's look at slope and point. Now, slope and point, we already know one piece of information that we need, right? We already know the slope. So let's go ahead and put that in. We know y equals negative 5x, but we don't know the y-intercept. So let's just write plus b. Now there's a problem with this equation. We have 3 different variables here. Oh, but we haven't used this point yet. Let's look at that. This point is an xy point. Oh, we can use those xy values in this equation to get rid of some variables. So instead of y, I'm going to put 6. Instead of x, I'm going to put negative 3. Now you may notice that we only have one variable. We just have b. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify and solve here. Negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. And how would I solve 15 plus b? Well, I don't want that 15 anymore, so I'm going to subtract 15. And that gives me negative 9 equals b. So my equation is now y equals negative 5x, and we know b is minus 9, so we could write plus negative 9, or we can just write negative 5x minus 9, because those are the same. We could check that as well, right? We could do negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15, minus 6 gives us 9. Or minus 9 gives us 6, excuse me. All right, so let's look at from 2 points. This is definitely the hardest because it takes the most amount of work, because we're not given the slope in this one. But we can find the slope using slope-intercept. So, or not slope-intercept, slope formula. So remember, slope formula tells you y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2 will give you your slope, right? Change in y over change in x. So let's go ahead and label these. x1, y1, x2, y2. It really doesn't matter which one you choose to be 1 and which one you choose to be 2. Doesn't matter. So now let's go ahead and plug this in. So 640 minus 590 over 10 minus 30. Okay. So that's going to give us 50 over negative 20. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify that because I know they have a common factor of 10 to negative 5 over 2. Or if you put that on the calculator, that's going to give you negative 2.5. Now, this is my slope. That means it's going to be y equals negative 5 over 2x. And I don't know b yet, so plus b. But again, we're going to go back to the method that we used up here and pick one of the xy points. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. You could pick this one, that's fine too. So wherever I see y, I'm going to put 640. And wherever I see x, I'm going to put 10. Okay. Ooh, negative 5 over 2 times 10 plus b. Well, let's jump down here. Negative 5 over 2 times 10. How do I multiply fractions? Well, got to turn 10 into a fraction. And then negative 5 times 10 is negative 50. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 50 divided by 2 should give me a negative. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Oh, okay, that's nice. So negative 25 plus b. Now, I want to solve for b. And I want to get rid of that negative 25. So I add 25 on both sides. And that gives me 665 equals b. So our equation now is y equals negative 5 halves x plus 665. On these kind of problems, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and box your answers. We can also look at this and say, okay, if we plugged in 30 there, negative 5 over 2 times 30 would give us negative 30. Wait, is that right? Sorry, would not give us negative 30. That would give us negative 5 times 15, which is negative 75, plus 665, which would give us 590. Okay, there's our check. If you have any questions about these, please raise your hand and I will come and help.